Okay, here we go. Today I'm sharing 5 ways to instantly improve your photos for beginner photographers. Kill that. Ooh. I will whack you with my itty bitty keyboard on your itty bitty tushy. Hi, I'm Natalie from Natalie Rowe Photography and welcome back to my channel. I am a newborn and family photographer based in Melbourne, Australia. I am a mum of 2 teen daughters, I am a coffee addict, and pizza is my spirit animal. Today I'll be sharing 5 ways to instantly improve your photos for beginner or amateur photographers. Tip 1. Blurry or unsharp images. Here are a few ways to help you improve your photos. Shoot with a faster shutter speed. A faster shutter speed will help freeze the movement in your images. Try not to drop below 1/100th of a second. Stand steady. Get your legs slightly apart. Tuck your arms into your body. Make sure you're holding the camera with one hand on the camera body and one hand under your lens to support the weight of the camera. This will help with any movement or shaking from your body. You can also lean against a wall or a tree for extra support and try to slow your breathing down. Yes, even breathing can affect the sharpness of your images. Use a tripod for ultimate sharpness. Now be careful because the higher you extend your tripod, the more wobble it will have. You can always make a makeshift tripod by leaning against fences or on walls, piled books, anything really that you can use to stabilize your shot. Don't be afraid to use a higher ISO in low light situations. And check your images as you go. That's the beauty of having digital cameras these days, is that we can instantly see the image, which means we can instantly correct any mistakes. Your aperture also plays a part in having sharp images. The larger your aperture, the less that's in focus in your photo. Think of it this way, if you're shooting a flower and you're shooting at f/22, you're going to get 22 of those petals in focus. And if you drop it to f1.4, you're only going to get 1.4 of those petals in focus and the rest will be blurry. All of these things will help you get immediate results in having sharper images. Tip number 2, composition. This really is the most difficult part of taking your photos. Sometimes just moving a few steps left or right, front and back, can change your image entirely. Try not to crop people's heads and feet off. And just in general, try and avoid cropping at any of the joints, such as the knees, the waist, the wrists, the elbows, the neck. If you're shooting a symmetrical image, take your time and set up directly in the middle. It's really obvious when someone is slightly off when shooting a symmetrical image. These practices are also known as spatial awareness. A great tip is to always look at your scene first. Take it in through your eyes, then check it out through your viewfinder or LCD screen, then set up for your shot. Also, using the camera's built-in grids, whether you're looking through the viewfinder or on the back of your LCD screen, is a great way to help you compose your image. I've linked a great article on composition from Digital Photography School below for you. Now there are rules to composition, but I believe rules are meant to be broken, so don't take them too seriously. Tip number 3 is wonky horizons. Center the horizon in your image. This is really easy to fix in post-process, but I really want to encourage you to get it right in camera first time. Take your time to line everything up through your viewfinder or your LCD screen. Use 2 hands on your camera, spread your feet slightly apart, and make sure you're standing steady. Enable the grids on your viewfinder or your LCD screen, that way you can line up the lines perfectly with your horizon. For years my images tilted slightly to the left and I would have to fix them in post-production, which let me tell you can be extremely time consuming depending on what you're shooting. Now I use my grid all the time and I slightly tilt towards the right. and my pictures come out perfect every time. I actually think I'm a little short on my left side, which is what was causing my wonky horizons. Tip number 4, setting your correct exposure. You may not know exactly how to set the correct exposure, and that is absolutely fine. You don't have to shoot in manual all of the time if you are unsure of your settings. You can switch to aperture priority or even automatic to get the correct exposure. This is actually a really great way to learn what settings you should be using, because when you look back on your photos, you can always check the metadata for what the settings were. If you're really committed to using manual, when you look through your viewfinder, you will see a light meter at the bottom. You want to try and get your settings to as close to that middle point as possible. That way you will have a perfectly exposed image. The light meters in cameras these days are really good, so you can be sure to trust them. And don't be afraid of pushing your ISO. Most cameras easily go to 3200 these days. I think it's so much better to get your shot with a little bit of noise, which can totally add to the ambience and the feel of the image, than to not have the image at all. Tip number 5 is white balance. White balance is the color temperature of your image. This means whether it has a warm, yellow vibe to it or a cool, blue tone to it. White balance is usually based on your main lighting source, whether that's sunlight, inside light, fluorescent lights, or ambient light. I generally use auto white balance, but you can totally choose the white balance for your situation. For the most part, cameras and their sensors are very accurate. As a rule, auto white balance will give you the correct color. However, a large block of any other color can confuse the sensor. If you shoot in RAW, this is a really easy fix in post-production. However, I do believe in getting it right in camera. If you want to be really accurate, I highly suggest the purchase of a grade card. These will give you a consistent look through your images because it sets a reference point for the white balance. By implementing these tips into your photos, you will start to see a huge improvement in your images. Now that I've shared these tips with you, I'd love for you to share the best tip that you've ever gotten for photography. Or the worst, it can be either. Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, I'd love if you gave it a thumbs up, or you could subscribe to my channel. If you'd like to check out my work, head to www.natalierowephotography.com. Or you can follow me at Instagram. I'm at natrowephoto. I'll drop the links below. Have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time.